Hey guys, my name's Ravi Sharma and welcome back to the channel. I am the founder and buyer's agent here at Search Property. Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode of Search Property TV. If you haven't already, then please do subscribe down below and smash the thumbs up button so we know the YouTube algorithm will push out the video to the people that need it most. Now, as the video title suggests, we're talking about the RBA predicting that 40% drops in price will occur across Australia. It's interesting, it's pretty much the reason why you clicked onto this video. It's clickbait headlines like this for the last 6 or 9 months has really caused a lot of anxiety to a lot of people, and it's just unfair. I feel like a lot of these creative writers, media outlets should really have a look at themselves in the mirror. Creative writers that are really leading to more uncertainty during unprecedented times. So I'm here to talk to you about what this actually means. Why is the RBA saying that there's a 40% drop in prices across Australia? It's very interesting. We as a community push for things like Are You OK Day, but we don't have any sense of duty of care when media outlets come out with these extravagant media headlines that really attracts people to become a bit more anxious and become stressed out by this sort of news, especially if you are a property owner, whether you live in that property yourself or as an investor. So hopefully videos like this can really spread out to the people that need it. I really ensure that there is no hidden agenda with this sort of video. I'm here to purely educate you. So let's have a deeper dive and look into exactly what this means. The headline suggested that there's a 40% drop, and that's deceptive in itself because this was definitely not the case. RBA did not sit there and go, there is going to be a 40% drop. It was actually a stress test. The research that was done to actually create this document was a look into what would potentially happen as a hypothetical of a situation or scenario that could occur. Not so much that it would occur, but in fact learning and understanding if our debt to income or household debt as a whole in Australia was affected by 40% reduction in prices across Australia, what that would actually do. Obviously this got blown out of proportion as the creative journalists, media outlets like to do, but unfortunately that's not the case. And if you're sitting there thinking that, oh well, there's $1 million property in Sydney right now that could sell for 600K in a year's time, I'm sorry to break it to you, it's not going to happen. And that's purely a supply and demand issue. When you're actually looking at the fundamentals, I'm not coming out here during coronavirus or this period of uncertainty and saying to everyone, all property is going to go up, you should go and buy. I am a buyer's agent, but when I'm talking about these things, I'm talking about specific areas that have good foundations for you to actually invest. Now, when people come out and say, I want to invest in Sydney or Melbourne because we're at the bottom of the market or that things are going to drop by 30 or 40%, then I can sweep in and buy. I don't really condone that sort of behavior. Again, this is non-financial advice. And if you do require that sort of advice, you need to seek a professional. When we look at this actual research paper that RBA had, created, it was really just a stress test. It was not in any way suggesting that the prices of Australian property would drop by 40%. And this entails the level of education that's in the system is flawed. We don't get taught about how to read these headlines and what to make of it, especially when you don't have that sound understanding of investments and real estate investing in Australia, that these headlines like this can actually cause you a lot of stress. So a few key things to note is that they were actually testing this across Australia because a similar thing happened during the GFC in the US. They were basically creating loans out of thin air for people that really could not afford it, and they got money hungry. These banks, these brokers were basically writing out loans that didn't actually make any financial sense. And so what happened was the actual flaw, the actual pin that popped the bubble in America, in the US, was actually causing them to have lost 40% of their prices in that short amount of time. Now, since then, obviously prices have come back up. However, it caused authorities, it caused regulators in America to actually look at these principles and look at how these banks giving out loans to people that can't actually afford them. Fortunately for us in Australia, we never experienced the 40% drop. We did experience in some areas 10, 15, sometimes 20% drops. And that was usually because fundamentally those areas to invest were either oversupplied or they were actually driven by consumer sentiment and emotional buying, which actually meant the market value was nowhere close to what people were actually paying well above and beyond, clearly led by FOMO, not ScoMo. So during the GFC and what followed after that was really a period of FOMO, especially in Sydney 2 years ago in 2017 and 2018. We actually had APRA come in and they couldn't increase interest rates. So what they did was they actually came in and didn't allow people to borrow certain amounts of money. The credit crunch happened. FOMO really died out. Now, fortunately for us, we have ScoMo, a different battle on our hands in the sense that during the pandemic, the government has made it very clear that they will do anything, and I mean anything, to keep the housing market propped up, and they cannot allow housing to actually fall through the cracks. Now, maybe there's some people sitting out there skeptical going, well, if unemployment's going to reach 15% and everyone's going to be off JobKeeper and JobSeeker and all this virus stuff, we're in lockdowns, this guy's an idiot, how does he know property prices are going to stabilize? They will. Pretty much because if you understand anything about economics, you will understand that there are certain things like stimulus, this printing of money, quantitative easing, things like this are happening and we're heading in one direction with our interest rates. So when the cost of borrowing becomes effectively zero, then how are people not able to repay their debts? In fact, they're able to borrow money cheaper to pay off their debt that's actually more expensive. The biggest reason we can't have real estate collapse in Australia is because it employs more than 1 million people across all of its services. So whether that's a real estate agent, to the property manager, to buyer's agents like ourselves, to people that need to take care of tenants, clean the houses, there is so many moving pieces in the puzzle when it comes to real estate investing that the government has fundamentally allowed themselves to show their hands when it comes to what they're actually looking at when they're looking at housing as a sector, and they cannot allow us to have it fall through. And at the moment, it's providing such a large amount of revenue to the government in the form of stamp duty. Now, obviously there's been talks already about stamp duty removal, but the fact that we're having this discussion about stamp duty removals should just tell you that they will take any step possible to actually keep the housing market propped up while we get through this recession and through a pandemic that, again, was health incurred. So again, guys, take what you may, but unfortunately, if you listen to mainstream media, you're catching headlines, then unfortunately you will never get ahead because negative news sells. I assume this video might get the most views on my channel, but unfortunately that's not my aim here. My aim is really to educate you guys to look out for the right things. It's that if you're getting caused anxiety and stressed out, maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to take some time away from looking at Channel 9 and looking at Channel 7 about coronavirus and how someday something bad is happening. So I urge you to take some time out, get educated with the fundamentals. And if you need some help in getting pointed in the right direction, then there's a link in the description below. You can book in a strategy call. We can definitely have a chat, whether it's about 40% market drop or whether it's about you actually taking accountability and trying to educate yourself with the right principles from someone who's actually gone out there and done it over an extended period of time. Guys, thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you guys have enjoyed this video, then please smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And guys, what do you think this means for the Australian property market? Do you think it's actually going to fall, or do you think something else is going to happen here? I'll catch you guys in the next video.